Hey everyone, so yeah, it's that time of year again. It is the top 10 book list of the year. I tried to narrow it down every single year, so if you want to check out the playlist, I can always put it up here and you can go and check that out. And for this year, it was quite tough because I didn't really read a lot of great books this year. I read a lot of good books, but not a lot of great books. So it was kind of hard to narrow the choices down. But eventually I was able to choose 10 that I felt were good for this video to share with you. And also, hopefully, you can find some books that you will enjoy and also get a lot from. So yeah, let's just get straight into the video. All right, but before we get into the list, I want to mention that there's a bonus book at the end of this video. And one of the reasons why is because I'm still reading the book, but I feel like this book, being about halfway through it, this book could definitely potentially be on my top 10 list. But because I'm not done with it, I'm not gonna put it on the top 10 list, although I will mention it briefly as a bonus. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and I'll put the chapters down here so you can skim through the video as much as you like. If there's a book that catches your interest, you can just jump straight to that book. I'm not expecting you to listen to every single second of every single book if it's not of interest to you, because the whole purpose of this video is to introduce you to some books that had an impact on me and how they can have an impact on you. All right, the first book is The Elephant in the Brain by Kevin Simler and Robin Hanson. So yeah, this book right here was pretty interesting because it helped me to realize how much is hidden within our own brain. Meaning that sometimes when we do something, we don't even know why we did it. Have you ever had that happen to you where you did something and then someone asked, why did you do that? And then you cannot really clarify your answer unless you actually sit there and then think about it for a bit, reflect on your actions. Sometimes we act out of emotions and the initial reactions that we have to the situation. This book goes through a lot of psychological aspects of the human brain and why we make the decisions that we do and how that happens within our brain. It goes through a lot of the cognitive biases, and it was definitely an interesting read earlier this year in 2024. So definitely check that one out if you get the chance and if it is of interest to you. All right, and the next book is You've Got a Book in You, A Stress-Free Guide to Writing the Book of Your Dreams by Elizabeth Sims. And I think the main thesis of this book is that writing a book is easy and fun. This is the main theme that flows throughout this whole book. I've got a podcast episode with the author. Link it up here and down in the description. Please do check that one out if you're interested in writing your own fiction book or non-fiction book. That's the thing that I liked about this one, is it gives tips for both and they flow together easily and they make a lot of sense. So this book is highly recommended. Some of the major tips that come from this book is finding your garret, meaning find a place that you are suited for writing. That place embodies your writing personality and helps you to find your flow and get in the zone and write as much as you can in one session. One of the biggest tips in this book here. And then also another one here is finding your truth as well. Every single book has truth in it. Every single book has a heart. And if you stick to that heart, I know it kind of sounds wishy-washy, the book gets into more detail about it, but if you stick to the heart of that book, if you ask what is the truth that I'm trying to find while you're writing, then your book should flow from section to section, from chapter to chapter easily, and also make a whole lot of sense to the reader. I also love the whole fact of observing people around you. Real interactions with real people around you can help you to make lifelike characters, or if you're writing a nonfiction book, can help you stay true to the people in your book, because every single book usually has a character driving the story forward. Even a nonfiction book, especially if it's a biography or a memoir, of course those have characters, but even if it's a book based on science, there are scientists out there. There are characters that play a role in the book. So that's another major takeaway. And we can learn a whole lot from observing human behavior. When you're just in a coffee shop and you're looking at the people and you're maybe eavesdropping, and you can learn a lot from that conversation about how people interact with each other. So I encourage you to be observant of the people around you, and you can use that material in your book, whether it's a fiction or nonfiction book, and makes it seem a whole lot more natural rather than something that you just totally made up out of thin air. So if you ever dreamed of writing a book, You've Got a Book in You by Elizabeth Sims is one that will bring a lot of enlightenment to your life, to your writing life, and it's a fun and smooth and useful read. All right, the next one is Supercommunicators: How to Unlock the Secret Language of Connection by Charles Duhigg, famous for The Power of Habit, which was a book that I read quite some time ago. So when this book came out, I was very excited to read it because it's a different perspective on a different topic compared to a lot of the other communication books out there. This one had some juicy gems, some applicable aspects to add to your communication belt, and it helped me to make posts on social media better, the language that I use, make it more empathetic rather than robotic, and also interactions with people around me. I personally have a hard time with communication sometimes, so reading books on communication have helped enlighten me better to communicate with people. And so yeah, this book also has some common suggestions, such as the matching principle, which is like syncing with others, like body language, eye contact, all of those typical things that we've read before. But it also gets into some more unique suggestions. I think I may have heard some of this before, but every conversation is a negotiation, which is quite true. I mean, when you're talking with people, you're trying to convince them of something that you believe or your perspective. And yeah, sometimes you agree with each other, so therefore you're not trying to convince them in that case, but you're still having a conversation and you're still trying to express your ideas so that the other person can understand what you're trying to talk about. And therefore, sometimes if they disagree with you, then you're trying to negotiate with them, converse with them in a way that maybe eventually you can come to some meeting point where you both agree a little bit on something. And one of the biggest themes in this book was connecting through asking questions. People are interested in themselves. Therefore, if you're asking questions to them to clarify or to get more information or to show that you are interested in what they're saying, then by asking questions, then of course the person would love to talk more about themselves and their ideas. Therefore, you build up more of an emotional connection with that person, and therefore they like you better. If you're asking the right questions and asking questions that makes the person give answers that maybe they wouldn't normally have thought of. Learning to become a better communicator is one of those skills that I think all of us need to try to work on, which is why I included Supercommunicators on this list. So if that's something that you feel that you need to work on more, then Supercommunicators, published in 2024, is definitely a book that could help you out with that. All right, and the next book here is also from an author that I read a book in the past from him. This one is called Slow Productivity: The Lost Art of Accomplishment Without Burnout, and it's by Cal Newport. Basically, there's some like 4 major aspects the book focuses on. And well, first of all, it's the downfall of the hustle culture, which was really big probably back in 2019. And some people still, they say, oh, hustle, 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 all the time. Some people say this still, and well, I've experienced burnout and it's not very fun. So this book is like an antidote to that whole hustle and grind culture, and gives some really good tips about how to focus more on high quality work, high quality, smart work, and really getting into the fine details of your work and working a whole lot slower than you normally would. It's okay to work hard. Actually, he encourages you to work hard, but make sure that your work is of the highest quality, but also make sure that you are able to get your work completed and out in the public. Done is better than perfect. And the last 2 major takeaways that I want to talk about from this book are do fewer things and also working at a natural pace. So doing fewer things, he doesn't mean that you are not going to accomplish as much. What it means is cut out the clutter. For example, if you can automate like emails or something like that, or try to delegate tasks if you have a team, or maybe you can hire someone. Like, for another example is like housework. If you are financially able to like get a maid or something like that, or maybe get someone to do the yard work, this will free up time and space in your mind, and also physical energy to do things that matter. So try to do fewer things. Try to get rid of the tasks that don't contribute to your main goal and your main project. Don't let the little tiny things distract you from getting things done. And working at a natural pace, sometimes your energy is waning and you need time for rest. This is important, of course. So if you need to rest, rest. Work at a natural pace. During your projects, there may be times when you have to hustle hard in a short burst of energy, and then other times that same project you may have to slow down and focus on that quality work, the nitty-gritty, down in the details, which could take a lot longer than the fast-paced period of your project. So realize that going at a natural pace, the paces will change over time. So if you are feeling deep down inside burnt out, unhappy with the amount of work that you have to do, I highly recommend reading Slow Productivity by Cal Newport. It is one that will give you some insights on how to avoid burnout and how to take a more purposeful approach to your work and life. The next one is kind of a unique one, as it applies to a particular type of job. So this may not be relevant to every single person out there, but that's all right. It's one of my fave because it gave me some great ideas about where my direction of career is going. The book is called The Accidental Instructional Designer, 2nd edition by Kenny Bean. And basically it gives you a lot of tips and tricks for instructional designers, whether new or long time working in that industry. And it's a perfect book for me because I am transitioning from being a teacher into instructional design, curriculum design, learning design, any type of work that deals with designing learning programs, whether that's online course or instructional materials, working with SMEs, which stands for subject matter experts, and getting into the fine details of learning theory and how to make that practical action in the learning world, the corporate world, or the educational world. So this is a really good book for me because I can really learn a whole lot about what instructional designers do and some of the tips and tricks behind that. Another great thing that I love about this field of work is that it focuses not only on learning, but also creativity, technology, and business. It deals with a lot of projects and a lot of teamwork. You have to work with different people in different backgrounds, different sections or departments of the working space. So it looks like a very interesting field of work. And this field of work truly does relate to teaching or education, as instructional designers and teachers have to have a tool belt and develop many different types of skills in the learning and also development environment, and really understand how people learn well. So those of you that are teachers out there and you're looking for a new type of job, this one could be an option for you. Any educators out there who are not already instructional designers, learning designers, curriculum designers, this book is a highly recommended one to check out. Next book up on our list is The Knowing-Doing Gap: How Smart Companies Turn Knowledge into Action by Jeffrey Pfeiffer and Robert I. Sutton. And this one, basically, we got the main thesis here is, if you're struggling to implement ideas, this book offers strategies to bridge the gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it. The book talks a lot about how companies train their employees. They go to these webinars or workshops, and then maybe for the next week they implement these ideas, but then totally forget about it and go back to their own previous ways of doing things. Or, you know, the directors or the managers, they sign their employees up for all these different workshops, but then actually don't change internally. So this book is really good for managers out there, anyone in the professional development area, leadership and things like that, can really help you to grasp the fact that words don't really count as much as actions do. And this is kind of common sense, but people don't do it. So read The Knowing-Doing Gap, and this will help you to apply knowledge more actively and realize when you're not doing that. The thing that I liked about this book, it gives you a lot of different case studies where the principles in the book actually work, and also gives you examples of how a lot of companies failed because of the way that they were carrying out their business through almost a non-action type of business. So the role of behavior change also takes a big role here. Overcoming the fear of failure as well is another one that the book covers. Execution over perfection, getting it actually done rather than perfect, is another focus of the book. Creating a culture of action, so rather than just giving these trainings and then not doing anything with it, like actually follow through with what you say that you're going to do. That includes leadership and employees. The problem of overthinking it. A lot of people sit there and let those ideas boil, but then never do anything with it. It just boils over, and then, oh, there we go, we got failure. And learning through doing, action itself, addressing organizational hypocrisy, breaking down the barriers to action. I mean, it's all about taking action, basically. So if you're wanting to learn how to bridge the gap between knowledge and doing and taking action, especially if you're in a leadership role, The Knowing-Doing Gap is a great book for you. All right, and the next book we've got here is Write It Down, Make It Happen: Knowing What You Want and Getting It by Henriette N. Clauser. Basically, the idea behind this book is writing something down, such as a goal, for example, can help you to make it happen. I know the idea could sound fluffy if you just say, write it down and it will happen. No, of course, we must do something. So the book gives you lots of great strategies to help you to follow through with your goals. But for sure, the initial act, the basic act of writing something down helps increase the chances of that happening, or at least remembering what you have to do. And rather than just letting that idea sit in your brain and collect dust and maybe never be remembered again, by writing it down, you have a bigger chance of making it happen, remembering it, and following through with what you must do. I really like this idea, and also I've had personal experiences of writing my ideas down, which helps to kind of unclutter my brain. This whole action helps me to feel a whole lot less stressed, kind of like just if you're writing in a journal or something, or whether it's maybe just a book of observations that you carry around with you, or you could organize it in some sort of way like a bullet list, or something that really fits well with you. By writing this down, it helps you to actually follow through with what you want to do. And I think this is the biggest takeaway from this book. I mean, it is like 20 chapters long, so it's got so much more than what I've just mentioned now. I cannot mention every single tip the book has to offer in this video. For none of these books I can do that. So, but it's basically just a simple but powerful habit that you can apply in your life to achieve your goals and to become a better, more balanced and reflective person. The next book is The Science of Storytelling: Why Stories Make Us Human and How to Tell Them Better by Will Storr. This book sits really well with me also because, well, right now I am a teacher of English language arts, and so stories are a huge factor in that subject. This book helps students and helps me to teach better writing strategies. Also, another thing, as just a human being, our life is surrounded by stories. Our life is a story, and therefore learning more about what connects with us emotionally in stories can better help us to make better decisions in our life. Again, I think for me, this book really dives into the psychology of telling stories through the characters that we have grown to love and know well. Also, the people around us, the decisions that people make really can affect a story, and the book does a really good job of explaining how our brain understands stories and why we connect with stories so well. One of the major takeaways that I really liked in this book was Storr introduces a key concept: the difference between what a character wants, what they need. Often, characters think they are pursuing their desires consciously, but their subconscious needs are steering them in a different direction. This tension is vital for creating meaningful plot developments. In my own work on learning, I stress the difference between superficial knowledge acquisition and deeper experiential understanding. Similarly, characters may pursue surface-level goals, while their true growth lies in discovering deeper needs. So as you can see from this quote that I've written down here, also including my own ideas and thoughts, it's so deep, I have to refer to these notes a lot. I've got it in my mind, but writing it down helps me to remember these ideas and try to implement them in my life. So yeah, definitely check it out. It's deep. If you're really interested in learning the science behind the way our brains interpret stories and how we connect with those stories and how you can communicate your ideas effectively, then check out this book. Alrighty, and the next book is The Wild Robot by Peter Brown. Now, I loved this book because I read it with my daughter, so it was such a really enlightening experience with my daughter, and fun to read through this whole story and experience the characters together. We made a video about this book, so please do check that one out. But yeah, I want to read a little something here that I wrote down before this video about this book. It will make it a lot easier and also just better, more articulate if I read it. So here. So this is a heartwarming story about resilience, connection, and survival. This book reminded me of the power of simplicity and storytelling to convey profound lessons. Roz's awakening and first interactions at the start of the story. She is unaware of how she came to be on the island. She simply knows that she is programmed to learn, adapt, and survive. Brown's depiction of Roz's first moments, like when she hatches from her crate, like a hatchling breaking from a shell, sets the tone for Roz's transformation from a cold machine to a creature more in tune with nature. Her son that she adopts, Brightbill. One of the most important aspects of the Wild Robot is the exploration of natural instincts versus artificial learning. Brown illustrates how Roz learns about survival not just through her programming, but through observing and interacting with the animals around her. She becomes a nurturing figure, particularly to Brightbill, a gosling she adopts after accidentally causing the death of his biological mother and family. Roz even explains instincts to Brightbill, highlighting connections between her own survival programming and the innate instincts of animals. The bond between Roz and Brightbill is a focal point of the novel, with Roz learning from him just as much as he learns from her. Purpose and growth. Throughout the novel, Roz grapples with a central question. What is her purpose? This question is raised during a conversation with animals, when Roz admits that she doesn't believe she has a purpose. However, the animals around her disagree. I love probably one of my favorite parts. They suggest that Roz is meant to grow gardens and care for Brightbill and help all the other animals on the island, giving her a sense of belonging and responsibility. Roz's journey toward understanding her purpose becomes a metaphor for the search for meaning in life, regardless of whether one is human or machine. This speaks to one of the novel's broader themes, that everything in nature has a role. Everything in life, everything on Earth has a role. And even artificial beings like Roz can find their place in the natural world. Teaching and learning. The Wild Robot also serves as a fantastic educational tool. That's why I love this book. Brown skillfully integrates natural science concepts, particularly animal behaviors, into the narrative in a way that is accessible to both children and adults. For instance, Roz learns to build a squirrel's nest, demonstrating her capacity for adaptation and learning about her environment. The book subtly introduces readers to various survival tactics and ecological relationships, making it an excellent read for young readers curious about the natural world. So even if you're an adult, it's, especially if you're a parent, it's a great read to read with your kids. And even if you're not a parent, you just want to read something fun and lighthearted, maybe you're having a difficult time in your life right now and you need something just to kind of lighten the mood, this is a great one. And I highly recommend that you pick it up. All right, and this next book is it's a memoir, but also it's got some interesting aspects that are applicable as well. And I was first introduced to Howard Gardner, the founder or the creator of multiple intelligences, I discovered him through my educational studies of my master's degree, and I didn't realize that he came out with a memoir a while ago, and so I wanted to discover more about this person. So I picked up his memoir. It's called A Synthesizing Mind, a memoir from the creator of multiple intelligence theory. And I enjoyed reading through this book because I got to know more about the person behind multiple intelligences. And I also realized that, sometimes we get pigeonholed into certain roles, basically the jobs that we do or the things that we create, we get pigeonholed or typecast in those roles. And he proves that we can do multiple things in our life. Like, we don't have to just get pigeonholed to one thing. But it does become hard to break out of that mold that society creates for us. And that can be very frustrating. Like, for him, it was for sure. For me too. Like, I'm a teacher, so I get pigeonholed as a teacher, but I do a whole lot more than that. I'm sure there's plenty of other people out there that also can feel the same thing. So yeah, that's just how society works. But yeah, you can do other things in your life. You don't need to be pigeonholed to one thing. Let me just read a few other things about what synthesizing mind actually is. So for Gardner, true synthesis goes beyond summarizing ideas in one's own words. Instead, it involves a deeper level of critique, questioning, and integration. Gardner emphasizes that synthesizing on paper and synthesizing orally are distinct skills. Very different. Writing demands clarity and structure, while speaking requires strong communication skills and an ability to articulate ideas fluidly. And as I read this, I remember a part in the book where he's like, well, I'm good at writing, but I'm not all that good at speaking. So let me try and work on those speaking skills. And that is absolutely right. We cannot just be good at one or the other. We need to try to balance both writing and speaking. So if you're a really good speaker, work on your writing skills. If you're a really good writer, work on your speaking skills. You definitely have to do that. And then another one here, the process of synthesis, Gardner explains, is not a one-time task, but rather a continuous journey. I love this. That can lead to new insights and transformative discoveries. His own journey from his first book, a straightforward compilation of research findings, to his groundbreaking work on multiple intelligences, exemplifies this process. Initially, his writing involved integrating existing knowledge, but as he progressed, he was able to create entirely new frameworks. His work on multiple intelligences represents a mass synthesis of all his work that he's done, all his research, all his activities, all his experiences, creating a novel approach to understanding intelligence. And one of the last points that I want to make as well, like, this book was published, before we had generative AI, and but the book does mention AI in it, so I just want to cover this because it's very relevant to all of us now. So, synthesizers in a world of AI. In a thought-provoking reflection, Gardner discusses that while AI is becoming adept at processing and organizing vast amounts of information, he maintains that true synthesis requires the nuanced insights and judgments of a human mind and heart. Synthesizers don't just collect information, they evaluate and interpret it, sifting through criticisms and diverse perspectives to uncover meaningful truths. This process demands a level of depth that AI cannot yet achieve. I guess the strong word there is yet. He stresses that synthesizing mind doesn't rely solely on data. True synthesis involves a sensitivity to context and an understanding of complex human motivations and values. So, if you are an educator, I highly recommend reading this book as it talks about multiple intelligences, which is probably something that you've heard of before. If you're not an educator, but you're interested in the topic of intelligence, then I also highly recommend reading this and discover new insights from an educator, researcher, and I'm sure you'll find something in there that you'll like and get a lot from. All right, so how long has the video been so far? I hope that you found a lot of value in books that I've had to suggest so far, that I've suggested for you to pick up, whether it's 2025 or 2030. Who knows what year you're watching this, but definitely check out some of these books. I really do hope that they're valuable for you. Let's jump into the bonus book though first, before we end the video. So the bonus book is one that I'm currently reading right now, which is why I couldn't really officially put it on the list. It's a bonus. So yeah, the book is called Tune In: How to Make Smarter Decisions in a Noisy World by Noala Walsh. And I'm about halfway through this book right now, but so far I really love the case studies. I really love all the unique examples. I find that reading a lot of these like self-help books, self-improvement, professional development books, and some of the nonfiction books as well, some of the case studies get repeated over and over. But in this one, the case studies are unique and interesting and fun to read, as if it were a story. And then of course it's like relates to the actual applicable takeaways about how to make better decisions, how to eliminate bias. So yeah, it's definitely great. Filtering the noise, identifying actually what is valuable in life and what we should actually listen to, whether it's an expert, and not to be fooled by experts as well, because sometimes experts or politicians or leaders or whatever can have their own agendas, and align your values with the actions that you take. Pause for reflection as well. There's a lot of takeaways in this book that that really do make a whole lot of sense. And of course, I'm only halfway through it, so there's still more for me to learn and improve in my life. So if you want to learn about distractions in your life, to make better decisions in your life, to make it more purposeful and intentional decisions, then check out Tune In by Noala Walsh. All right, now we're down to the end of the video. I really hope that the 10 books have helped you out and you get a chance to check them out. Please let me know what was your favorite read of 2024. And if you're watching this after 2024, then let me know one of your most recent favorite reads in the comment. Make sure you share this video, get the word out, and hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.